So what is identity on the internet? If you think about it, they're nothing but identifiers like your username and password or your email or your phone number. All these are the identifiers, right? Using so whenever you want to access a website, you need these identifier, either of these, right? So your identity on the internet is defined by these identifiers, right? They're not you, they're not your real identity. They are the identifier which you would use to, to prove yourself that you are the owner of those identifier. And 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 this is where things really start, the ownership of identifier. So but before I go into the ownership of identifier, let us start with talking about how these identifiers are created, right? So like like in in the old days, good old days, when they were not really good, but yeah, in the old days, people used to go to every website, they fill some form, and an identifier is being, issued to them, username and password. So they keep on going to multiple sites, and they'll get a lot of username and password. So now they have like hundreds of username and password to carry on, right? And of course this becomes a problem, because once, like, you need to remember all of these, or there is a security problem, like you keep using the same password in all of these. So it became a problem, like you keep forgetting all the username and passwords. So which is why there was a concept of OIDC, Open ID Connect, or single sign-on, introduced, which helped you to remember just one credentials, and using that you should be able to log in into all of these websites. So for example, if you have a Google account, you should be able to use the Google ID to log in into all of the website which supports Google login, or you have a Facebook account, so on. Fair enough. The problem is that this particular identity provider, right, Google, Facebook, they really owns your data. So you give them the data to them, and they take care of it, managing it, accessing it, and doing whatever they want. They do that. Okay. This has couple of issues. Okay. One is, whenever they want, they can revoke your, the credentials. So if they revoke your credentials, your whole impression, or your whole, how would I say, existence on the internet is wiped off, just because they have revoked your identity. Imagine using a phone number and not paying the bills. So using phone number for OTP login, and you are not paying the bill of your phone number. Then the phone company have ability to stop you using your phone number, and they probably would revoke your access and give the same phone number to someone else. Same goes with the email providers. Same goes with this social SSO provider or identity provider. And the moment that happens, your existence from the identity is wiped out, and this is very important point to make. So there are 3-4 problems which I want to mention here. First is, you do not control your identity or identifiers on the internet. The second problem is, every time you use these credentials to access something, these guys get to know, okay, what are you doing? So it's a clearly breach of privacy. Imagine you are trying to access a porn website using Facebook ID. Now Facebook is sending you a notification, hey, you have just logged into this XYZ or XXX website, or whatever website, and you don't feel comfortable. Hey, like, this is clearly a breach of privacy to me. I don't want world to know what I'm doing. You know, uh, you accessed Amazon, and suddenly you are getting all the messages, like on, not the notification at least, or the ads on the Facebook, saying that, hey, you just check out this T-shirt, go and buy this. So you don't feel comfortable. So it's clearly a breach of privacy, right? So that's the second problem. The third problem is, because there is a centralization of data, like hell lot of data at one place, these guys are misusing it without even telling you. So what are they doing, right? Cambridge Analytica, there are a lot of cases where you will find that they are misusing your data, and they are not even telling that they are misusing it, and that's why they are giving you the free service. So these are the problems with the centralized way of, managing these identifiers. So the whole crux of the problem is these identifiers, how they are created and how they are managed. Okay, and the user do not have control to that. So how would you solve this problem? So if you look at now Web3 space, where things are going towards user, like it's becoming user centric. The flow, the conversation starts from user, not from the website or not from the apps. The you are in case of Web2, you are building app, you are building app, and you are expecting all the users to come to your app. In case of Web3, the user is there. Now the user needs some features, which is why it's going to one of these apps. So the conversation started from users. In case of Web2, the conversation started from the apps, whereas in case of Web3, the conversation started from the user. Although they both are saying the same thing, but the narration changes and it has impact on that. You know, so if you look at like how people used to be very skeptical about when they used to say that, hey, you should be able to control your own money, but it happened, right? You have a cryptocurrency. So the way user is able to control their informations or activities or even the money on the internet, digital money, similarly it is being carried forward to identity, because identity is another very important aspect of the internet activities or internet thing, right? So how do you do that? So in previously, when you used to go to a website, you ask them to issue you a username password. This was the flow. But now what will happen that you should be able to create an identifier on your own. How will you do that? We'll talk about it. And then you take this identifier and go to this one of the service provider and saying that, hey, this is my identifier, I am going to use your service using this identifier. So you created that identifier, you are in the control of the identifier. You, whenever you want, you can delete that identifier. And the moment that happens, your whole existence from that particular platform is gone, because you wanted to. But today, if you want to delete something from the Facebook, it's not happening. Maybe they will just archive it and won't let you see in the UI, but they are not really deleting it, right? So that is the flow of new decentralized identity based access management flow. Like you create your identifier and you give it to them, and then they will associate that identifier with all the activities that you do over there, and you have the control of it, either deleting it or updating it. So what is this identifier which I'm talking about? How it is created, right? So this identifier is something called decentralized identity. Decentralized identity, which is associated with a key pair, like private key and public key pair. And you know that the private key you can control, or you will hold on your wallet, or and then and which is why the reason you will control the whole ID, the DID, and you should be able to update as many public keys over there, so that in future if you feel that okay, this particular public key is compromised, then you use a different public key. So this way you are trying to enhance the security. You don't have to even redo the password thing like the way we are doing, right? Keep changing your password, try to think about a very hard password. Hey, they are the human. They will do the mistake. So you need to help them not do the mistakes, right? So if you keep changing your key pairs, then you're anyway changing the password. So you don't need to tell them to choose any passwords and all. So that is the DID. Okay, so DID is an identifier which users create for themselves, and they are in complete control of that identifier. That's the difference between DID, and nobody else can revoke that access. So once you have this DID, Okay, what else you can do? How would you, how, if you want to share your information, private information with some company or some organization, how would you do that? You know, so you can associate your private informations, let's say some data like your address, phone number, and so on, and associate that those private information with one of the DIDs that which you control or which you have. And because I said that DID consists with a key pair, you should be able to share this information securely. And what does that securely mean? It's like you can sign it and send it to someone, and they should be able to verify that information. So they will verify the two things, like one, whether that information, that the data which you are sharing with them has actually been issued from a recognized issuer, right? So, for example, if you are sharing your Aadhaar information, they should be able to independently verify whether it's coming from Aadhaar company or not, right? Whether it was issued by the Aadhaar, but that has to be happen independently, and that's where there are two things. First, the data has to be verifiable, because if you start sharing some random data, there's no point of doing that, right? You can create some XYZ data and start sharing, and then the whole internet will become whatever today it is, like fake profile, fake bots, and all that thing. How would you stop that? So you will share information which is verified information only. Okay, so through this verifiable credentials. So now when you share this verifiable credentials, the verifier, they should be able to first verify that information whether it's coming from the trusted issuer or not. Second thing is they should be able to do it independently. It's not like they go and call the issuance company and saying that, hey, please verify this guy has came to me with this address. The way today it is happening, like Aadhaar credential, if you have to verify, you need to call the Aadhaar database. Imagine that at the time of verifying the Aadhaar credentials, for some reason there is an outage in the Aadhaar system. Then that company will not be able to verify, and they will say, hey, there is a network down, I won't give you the access. Is it the fault of the user? No, right? So they should be able to verify independently. So for example, if you are, imagine you have been issued university credentials by your university, and you took this university credential to get a job in a particular company, and for some reason that university is no longer in the business for some reason, and when you go to the company is not able to verify because the university is no longer there in the business, so he cannot call that system. Is it your fault that you have you have studied from that university? No, right? Is it your fault that this guy was not able to verify this thing? No. So you must be getting access. Your access should not be controlled. So they should be able to, the verifier must be able to verify somehow. What that somehow is, we'll talk about it, but they must be able to verify what is this credentials. They must be able to verify the data behind it. Once it is issued, like they should be able to verify. That's all. Unless it's revoked, of course. So that's the aspect of like sharing your, how you will share your private data. All right, private data which is verifiable, and that concept is called verifiable credentials. So you understood the concept of DID. Using that DID, you can create verifiable credentials. Okay, and you can share this information to someone else, and they should be able to verify it. So these are the second. Now that you understand that, okay, we should be able to share our private information very securely, that's perfectly fine. But what if the verifier does not need all of your information at all, like at once? So for example, if they just need your address, but they don't want to know your date of birth or your name or whatever, okay, or let's say they just need your so for example, let's understand this from example. So for example, let's you go to a pub where you want to prove that you are 18 plus, right? Or so they want to just see your date of birth, right? They don't care about your address, they don't care about your name and all that thing. But the only way that you can prove your or show your date of birth is by giving your whole Aadhaar credential. You get it? And the moment that happens, there is a chances of leakage of that data, and that's what is happening all around us, right? Many times we go and try to take some surveys, they don't even need that information, but because there is no digital way to digitally provide that the partial information, you keep on sharing the whole thing. Like you have to give your passport, you have to give your, and you do it every time all of over the places, and that increases the chance of data loss and data misuse, data leakages, right? So you should be able to selectively choose what information of that verifiable credentials you want to share. So that's the concept of selective disclosure. That there are 5 information. I just want to share 3 information because that company does not need all of my 5 information. They only need 3 of them information. So I should be able to share that, and he should be able to again verify independently each of these informations. That's important. Verifiability aspect is always there. They have to be verified. Okay. So we understood what is DID, and using DID, we can generate credentials, verifiable credentials, which contains the private data. And now we should be able to share part of this information also using this concept of selective disclosure, which I taught. Is this enough? No. We need more privacy. Okay, what does that mean? So imagine let's go back to our example where you go to the pub and they just want to know your date of birth so that they can let you into it, right? Saying that whether you are 18 plus or not. In this example, they don't really want to know your date of birth at all. They just want to make sure that you are 18 plus. That's all. They don't care about your actual date of birth. So out of this, the data, is it possible that you should be able to prove that you are 18 plus without showing your actual date of birth? Because the moment you happen, again, there is a chances of leakage. Now they will have a database of list of date of births, right? And they will know your age. And if they know your age, let's say you are 60 plus, you are trying to access pub, then some insurance company might call you, a health insurance company or whatever. I don't know. I'm just saying this can be possible, right? So you don't want to share because they don't need it. So why would you want to share your actual information? So is it possible to share information or proof that you hold certain things or you have certain things without revealing that certain thing? So for example, if you want to prove that you are 18 plus without revealing your actual age, or for example, if I want to prove that I have $1 million without revealing my bank balance, but I will prove that hey, I will have more than $1 million, so I'm like rich, I have more than $1 million in my bank account, but I don't want to show you my actual bank account, bank balance. Maybe I'll have $1 million and 10 like $100 million, but because you don't need that, you only need the information that do you have $1 million. So if that is the case, then I should not show you my bank balance. So that's the concept of zero knowledge proof. On this selective disclosure, you can create zero knowledge proofs. Like you can create proofs and they can verify that you proofs for certain things, and they should be able to verify that proof. So what is this? The proof for certain thing is here. The proof for certain thing is you are above 18 plus, and they should be able to verify that information. So building all of this, okay, that's a framework. This whole thing is called self-sovereign identity framework. You will not want to use this framework or build this framework on again a database. Imagine that you are creating a DID on a database. Then you go back to the same questions, right? Who is controlling that database? So you don't want to do that. So building this SSI framework or SSI layer on top of a blockchain is what we are trying to do. So we are building the blockchain. On top of that, we are building this SSI framework, sort of modules, you can say. SSI module. Using that module, you should be able to do all of these which I have talked just now. Create your DID, verifiable credentials, verify your verifiable credentials, issue, and all of these things you should be able to do. And we are building this whole stack, you can say, for the people or the enterprise. So that is what we are doing at Hypersign here. Thank you.